this, you have power. And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Happy Tuesday, Upstate South Carolina. Happy Tuesday, America. Happy Tuesday, world. Welcome in. Another 3 hours of sports talk, entertainment, excellence begins right this very second. My name is Rob Brown.
Come on. You can't say sports talk entertainment without saying sports talk entertainment.
Entertainment. The pinnacle of sports talk entertainment. I am Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, is on the other side of the metaphorical glass. That's the other seductive voice you hear this morning. We're so glad to have you guys along for the ride. Good morning to everybody except Draymond Green. I'm so sick of this dude. So sick of this guy. And we'll get into that in just a moment from right now. I wonder about Zoe, because on one hand, I suspect there was a little bit of Lonzo yesterday who was briefly a Draymond fan. But on the flip side, success for Dre means success for Steph, and I wonder how you rationalize
All right,
that.
first of all, I will never be a Draymond on the court fan. I just said his stuff off the court before when we were talking about it. I think he's going to be pretty good in the broadcast booth. That's all. That doesn't mean that I like him on the court. He's not a good guy on the court. He never. I know we're not getting entirely into it, but I mean, wasn't it a retaliation? Yes. Did it deserve what it got? For sure. And hopefully there'll be a lot of money involved too, because there needs to be.
He is going to get, I suspect, suspended for a game. If you did not see it last night.
Think about it. You lose him for that game, they're done.
Yeah, go down 3-0 if they do. Last night, the Sacramento Kings go back-to-back. They put the Golden State W's into a 2-game deficit in round one of the Western Conference playoffs. In that game, there was a moment where Draymond decided to go full and entire WWE on Domantas Sabonis. They got tied up, and I will even go one step further and happily acknowledge that Sabonis did wrap up the foot of Draymond Green. He was absolutely hanging on to it. I think it's fair to wonder if it was a reaction to being knocked to the ground in a very physical moment.
I've seen this move happen before. This seems very familiar to me. It seems like the same thing happened with LeBron several years ago.
Yeah, the difference is that LeBron did not drop a Finn Balor caliber coup de grace right onto the chest of whoever it was that held him up. Draymond lifted the leg, and don't you dare come at me with this hot garbage argument of, oh, Rob, he was just trying to figure out a place to set his foot down, and Sabonis happened to be there. No, he didn't. He raised that thing,
both
and
feet,
he brought it down hard.
It looked like both feet to me. It really did look like a coup de grace. It did. It's just when I saw it, I'm like, okay, yeah, All right. Your next career in the WWE is probably going to be pretty good.
You know what? So I got the sound of the incident in the roster, if you don't mind pulling it. It's down towards the bottom. I forgot exactly what it was, but it says Draymond ejected or Draymond stomped or something like that, if you'll grab it. This kind of crap can't happen, man. This kind of crap can't happen. It cannot be allowed to go on. Last night, Draymond and Sabonis were in it a number of times. They got tangled up a handful of times yesterday. And this was the last one of those times because Draymond got told, hit the showers, big fella. Hit the road, Shaq. And don't you come back. No more, no more, no more, no more. Now, Sabonis did pick up the flagrant one. And good. Hanging on to the foot, whether it's instinct or not, is dangerous and can't be allowed. But the retaliation level was just not okay.
Here's the thing. There are a lot of people that probably just saw the highlight, low light, whatever you want to call it, but they were going at it the entire game.
Sure.
So this was like, but both teams were going at it. It wasn't just
a physical series, and I'm in love with it, by the way.
There was, and not a lot of flopping. Quite a bit of the guys hitting the floor was because they got knocked to the floor. And I'm like, okay. And there were a lot of fouls called, and then the refs would let it go for a while, and then they'd have to get back in there and start calling them again. But both teams were physical. And I love seeing Golden State beaten up. I enjoyed every second of it. Hopefully they come back and Sacramento beats them up even more. I want to see a beaky fly from an elbow, but that's just me.
So Draymond, while this play was under review, decides to go ultra mega heel on the entire city of Sacramento, right? Now, 97.865% of the time, your boy loves a good heel, all right? The last game of the season for the Swamp Rabbits, I walk out in the second intermission to a different wrestler intro song every night. The last one I went out to, Zoe, Reza Romo, because I love a good bad guy.
Do you have a toothpick?
I couldn't find one. I legit looked for 20 minutes. Could not find one.
Should have ordered a drink that had a toothpick in it.
Couldn't find one. Okay. Anyway, right. I tried everything. So I love a good bad guy. And there's a difference, though, in being a bad guy and legitimately committing assault in front of the nation, my man. Games are going to get physical. And when you play a traditional 4-5 role, as Draymond does, you can not only expect physicality, but you should respond to physicality with more physicality. It's the only way to win. Sabonis was doing that. Draymond then decided, let me collapse old boy's lung for him. Let me see if I can pop a couple of ribs with a stomp. If that did happen in professional wrestling, Draymond would have a receipt coming, like today. It's too much, man. And this is also, remember, was it last year or the year before in the playoffs when Draymond was getting into it with, who was it from the Grizz that he kicked right in the junk? Was it Adams? Was it Steven Adams?
I believe it was Steven Adams. And that's the one guy you really don't want to mess with.
Steven Adams is the only dude that it's like, that guy could take Jason Momoa because he's the same dude. They got into it. Draymond and Adams went up for a board that ricocheted the wrong way, and Draymond straight up kicked him in the nads. It's not okay. If that was Draymond's first offense, then maybe I go, all right, heat of the moment, right? Some people do dumb things in the heat of the moment. He learned his lesson by getting ejected. His team lost without him down in the clutch. But this is incident number, 9, 10, 11, 12 for Draymond Green? He's just a bad guy. And not like fun. If Draymond was having a day and he popped off for like 33, 12, 10, and 7, and then he walked around giving the Hulk Hogan ear to the crowd, I'm going, love that guy. Love that guy. Love a guy who goes into enemy territory, rips them a new one, and then promptly starts to drop the "you can't see me" on their face, right? Loved Caitlin Clark doing it for Iowa. Loved Angel Reese hitting her right back with it for LSU. But my man, I'm sorry to be dramatic, but dropping that stomp on Sabonis's ribs could have ended his series, could have ended his season, could have ended his career if you catch him the right way. So then to walk up to the bench, to walk in front of the crowd, screaming, "Yeah, you slang for female genitalia," while putting your ear to the crowd and letting them chirp at you, that's just trash, man.
And if you looked at the crowd, I mean, some fans were being escorted out of the arena after throwing some serious sign language at Draymond, and Draymond was just screaming at the crowd. It could have gotten worse. I mean, someone out of there could have gotten mad enough to come down there.
Could have had another Malice at the Palace. Look, I got no problem with fans interacting with players, player interacting with fan. We're going to get into it later because Russell Westbrook does not like the name Russell Westbrick. How do we know? Because a fan in the tunnel during the Clips Suns game the other day called him Westbrick to his face, and he told him to watch your mother bleeping mouth and had to be separated from the guy. I don't have a problem with fans chirping at players, players chirping at fans. Smack talk in basketball and hockey primarily is a foundation of the game. If you don't like it, don't participate, but don't expect everybody else to stop. But there's a difference between that and committing felonious assault on a dude and then chirping about it. All right, let's come back to that. This show, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be stocked, locked, and loaded. Why? We got 3 interviews coming your way today. Coming up in the next segment of the show, Andrew Lord is the head coach of your Greenville Swamp Rabbits. The Bits are in the playoffs. They are the 4 seed out of the Southern Division of the ECHL. Andrew Lord and his Bunnies will be on the road Friday down in Jacksonville. 2 of a 7-game series against the Icemen on the road. They will then return next week to host 3 back here at the Well, should they be necessary. And then it's back to Jacksonville for 6 and 7 if those are necessary. We'll talk to Andrew Lord about the Bunnies' offensive explosion to wrap up the season, as well as what he's looking for out of this team and if he believes the Bits are built to be a deep playoff running team. Then at 10:20 Emily Adams of the Greenville News will join us on the program to give us her thoughts on this past weekend's Gamecock spring football game. Then at 11:20, Kyle Sullivan is an analyst for the Locked On Podcast Network. He is an NHL guy. He's going to be joining us off and on throughout these entire Stanley Cup playoffs. He will join us at 11:20 to give a breakdown of a specific team. We talk Carolina Hurricane hockey when we come back at 11:20. So Lordo next, Emily at 10:20, Kyle at 11:20, and we'll sprinkle everything else around in the middle. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, Andrew Lord, joins us next on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. You see? All right, guys, got a live read. Stay right there. We will be right back. Don't go nowhere.
I need to talk to Diesel.
Hello, everybody.
I think Diesel and I should do a counter promo and just slip it in there and see if anyone notices.
Do it. 100% you should.
No, I ain't doing that. I ain't getting in trouble like that. It's fun to talk about, not necessarily to do. Plus, Diesel wouldn't do it.
I've told you guys this in the past. I stand by it. I stand on it. It's a hill I'll die on. If there is anything better than playoff hockey in all of sports, the only thing I can even put in the same ballpark as playoff hockey is college baseball in the playoffs. But hockey is a special breed of cat. And ladies and gentlemen, your Greenville Swamp Rabbits are back in the playoffs once again, and they are there under the leadership of our next guest. He is the head coach of your Greenville Swamp Rabbits. He is head coach Andrew Lord, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Lordo, what's up, big fella?
Not much. Ready to go here in a couple days. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Always happy to do it. Glad to have you on for just a minute. How we feeling going into the playoffs, man? I mean, it was a bit of an offensive explosion from the Bunnies. 14 goals in the last 4 games. Man, what clicked, buddy?
Just about everything. Yeah, the boys were rolling, playing the right way, and it all kind of came together there. So hopefully that's a good indication of where our game's at for, a huge first round against Jacksonville.
Love it. Andrew Lord, head coach of the Swamp Rabbits, joining us here on the radio broadcast. And, Coach, before we get into the series against Jacksonville, it has been said many, many times that goaltending and the power play are really the 2 keys to success in playoff hockey, regardless of what level you're playing at. Obviously, the power play has really come on for you guys the last couple of games. A little bit of a stretch there in the middle of the season where maybe wasn't going the way that we wanted it to. And then, of course, at goalkeeping, David Hrennick gets called up as he goes up to the Kings for a dramatic win last night. We'll maybe get to that just a little while from now. But Richardson, Bednard is back now as well. Can you talk to me about those 2 pieces and where you guys are as you get ready for the series to start on the road at Jacksonville?
Yeah, I definitely agree with both, goaltending and power play being, vital, especially this time of year. It'll be interesting to see what the refereeing's like. It's a 2-man system or 4-man, I should say, in the playoffs every game, which we're used to a little bit more of a 3 a lot of the time in this level. So if there's more calls, we're going to have to be ready on the power play. I do suspect it to be a little bit more, physical of a series. They're built similar to us. So power plays, I'm guessing, are going to be down a little bit. But that being said, very important. And then goaltending, no question, maybe the most important thing this time of year. So we're really pumped about Ryan Bednard. We had him here 2 seasons ago. When he was under a contract with Florida, and he performed really well there. And luckily enough, we were able to get him back in a trade a couple months ago here. And he's been the backbone of our team, I would say. And, he got a great experience up in the American League here the last couple of weeks with Grand Rapids, did really well there. Got back in yesterday, and he's ready to go. And it just feels right this time around. It feels like it's his time to shine. And I really think he can, ultimately win us not only a series, but hopefully 4 of them.
Talk to me a little bit about your strategy as the manager, as the head coach of your keepers. I mean, in the regular season, we see a rotation of guys. Sometimes that's impacted by guys getting called up and sent back down. But for the playoffs, how do you approach? I mean, is it a matter of go with the guy that's got the hot hand? Is there some prep that you see in practice that makes you think that's the guy I want between the pipes this week? What's your approach to picking the guy that's going to be wearing the glove for game 1?
Yeah, it's a great question. During the season, we play so many back-to-backs and 3-and-3s and travel. I think you really got to manage the workload. And, we did that all season. We rotated 1 game on for David Hrennick with the LA Kings, and then 1 game on for Bednard, who's a ECHL contracted goalie by us. So that was literally how we did it, other than when someone was called up. And, now this time of year, yeah, it's going to be, a 1 goaltender net, I would say, especially with, you got to look at the schedule. We're playing 3 one-off games. We play Friday, Sunday, then we play Tuesday. We don't play again till Game 4 is the following Friday. So with the one-offs, you can certainly kind of load up. And Bedsy's our guy. He's our starter. Luke Richardson's been great in his couple games that he's played for us, and he's won. I think he's a real good secondary piece for us. But Bedsy's certainly our guy here to begin with.
Let's talk about the guys that are going to be right in front of him, the guys that are going to be running on defense. And some of these guys, Ethan Kapp, Nikita Pavlicek, I mean, these guys have been having some really, really solid performances for you as of late. But when they are rotating goalkeepers, when they've got Bedsy coming back, been a little while since they've really gotten a lot of ice time with him. Talk to me about how you make sure that your goalkeeper and your back two are on the same page together.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with communication and buying into the game plan. And, our game plan is very structured around making it easy for a goaltender to do his job. And when you're allowing seam plays and plays to the backside and multiple shot opportunities, it's not going to be good for any goaltender. So, I think the way we play, Bedsy knows it very well at this point after being here for, it's almost going on 2 years now. And, we have 11 returning guys from last year as well. And we have a couple returning defensemen from last year's group. So I think we're in a good spot that way. And it starts with communication and just doing your job, really. If we stick to the fundamentals and the habits and everything that's got us to this point, I think we'll be in really good shape.
Yesterday, Coach, I got the opportunity. Andrew Lord, head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Got the opportunity to come by for Media Day yesterday before you guys get on the road down to Jacksonville. And, we had questions about a couple of guys. Nikita Pavlicek is a guy who's gotten a lot of talk and everybody curious about him. Obviously got called up to Ontario, had an injury while he was up there, got to rehab before he came back down. And has been, he was on fire when he left, but he's come back, had a 4-goal game the other night, kind of feels like he found his form. How important has Nikita been to what you guys have been able to do to go on this late run?
Yeah, he's been huge. I would argue that he's an everyday American League hockey player, and I think he showed that, through his time here. He's done amazing, especially where he was, I think played about 35 games for us right off the hop at the start of the year. And then the last few months, it's been kind of up and down a few times. But, when he's healthy and ready to go, he's a force. He's probably 6'6", plays in all situations up front as a forward, penalty kill, power play, net front. He's a great centerman. He's responsible. He also has obviously that offensive touch. And, come playoff time, I know he's going to be ready to go and be real physical. And when he's playing that way, it's not only exciting to watch, but very dangerous for our team. So he's definitely a go-to guy this time of year, and we're lucky to have him. That being said, LA Kings and Ontario Reign, both of our affiliates, are playing in the playoffs. So I'm sure there's a good chance if there's some injuries or something up at the higher levels that he's going to move. But we're enjoying him being down here while he is here.
I don't want to go down that path terribly far, but I do think folks that want to hear you address it, Coach. Because you would get to the playoffs and consistency for a team, really in any sport at any level, consistency, I think, is what you're looking for when you go into the playoffs, especially when you have a run like you guys did. But that doesn't mean that you are done with call-ups, with guys being sent back up and back down. So do you get a couple of days notice that these types of things are going to happen? And how do you strategize around knowing that Nikita could get called up at some point or Bedsy could get moved around? How do you kind of prepare yourself for that going into the playoffs?
Yeah, it's probably the toughest part of this level, to be honest. The minor leagues is that very thing. And it not only is it our direct affiliate, Ontario, but it's also is, the NHL affiliate with LA. If they have an injury, then there's a knock-on effect. They grab someone from Ontario. Ontario's got to grab someone from us. Their communication's great. We talk on a daily basis, so very rarely blindsided. That being said, if something happens, say in the Kings game last night or in the Ontario games here this week, it's going to be a quick turnaround, right? So you will find out last minute, and we just got to move. But we're always prepared. This time of year, you have a 24-man playoff roster. So while we're healthy, you're going to have 5 guys out of the lineup. So we got some guys ready. And usually when it happens, it's actually not the end of the world. It's usually a great opportunity, and the guy that goes in is really hungry to kind of grab the bull by the horns and help us.
Andrew Lord, head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate, as the Rabbits get set to head down to Jacksonville for the opening series of the ECHL Kelly Cup playoffs. Coach, last 4 games, obviously, as we mentioned, you guys put the puck in the net a bunch of times, but I want to talk about the mentality, the attitude of this team, because it was an incredibly physical last couple of series, had a couple of guys go at different spots, and it just looked to me, standing ringside, like there was a fight to this team. There was an edge to this team. Can you talk to me about, A, the attitude of the team, and B, how do you make sure that it is focused on results in the game as opposed to just guys running around and slamming each other into the boards?
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's a great question. Last year I felt we were competitive. I thought we were physical, but I also thought, at times we were a little bit light. We were maybe missing a guy or two. And I think as an organization, we decided to, change that a little bit this off season. And we're certainly bigger. We're certainly tougher. We're certainly more competitive on the whole to a man. And I think it really shows. We have a number of power forwards. We have a big body decor, and we got some guys that, not only the fighting's obviously is an important part of the game. It's a deterrent, or if we need to react, we can. We have that. We have those guns if we need them. But I think it's just playing big and physical. It's net front battles. It's face-offs. It's corner battles. It's anything along the wall this time of year. And both of our, Jacksonville and us, we play a similar style, and there is going to be a lot of those battles. So I think, we're deep in that area, and I think we can win a gritty series, which, playoff hockey is really about that. If you're watching the NHL last night, every game gets ramped up 20%. It's way more physical. So I think we're capable, and I think we're excited to really ramp that side of our game up even more.
Andrew Lord, head coach of the Swamp Rabbits, talking with us here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Coach, 2-3-2 series in the first round of the ECHL. So a couple down in Jacksonville, back to the well for 3. And if necessary, we can go back to Jacks for a couple of more. I've said I honestly think the 2-3-2 to some degree favors the away team. I know you guys aren't going down there of the mentality, let's split the first 2 and get back to Greenville. I mean, obviously you like to go down there and get both, so 2 out of 3 wins you the series. But how important is it to go down there, make sure you'd like to get the first one out of the gate, but make sure you get one and make sure you can come back to take advantage of what I think, especially late in the season, has been a pretty good home ice advantage here in the upstate?
Yeah, no, I think there's something to be said about that. And, I agree that the 2-3-2s, I think as the away team, it's probably better than the traditional 2-2-1-1-1 format. And, that being said, I'm not really coaching that. We just got to coach Friday here. We got to coach a one-off game. We got to focus on the first 10 minutes and do what we need to do to be successful against them. But yeah, I mean, it'd be awesome to grab 2. 1, I guess, would be okay as well when you have 3 home games. But I've been doing this long enough. I've seen everything happen, and it typically does. So, anything and everything can happen here in the playoffs. We just got to take it one game at a time.
Last one, Coach, and then we'll let you go because I know you got a lot going on before you head to Jacks. Talk to me about that home ice advantage, especially in the playoffs. I mean, I think when you're putting up 14-4, those last 4, we saw the attendance come up at the well. I don't know about you guys on the bench, but for me standing next to the wall, it very clearly felt like there was more juice in the building. If you guys are able to go down and grab one or both down at Jacksonville and come back to the well, how important is it for you guys to have a Bon Secours Wellness Arena that is full, that is rocking, that's got a few thousand Swamp Rabbit fans in it? How much does that impact you guys, especially late in the year and into the playoffs?
Oh, it's a tremendous difference. Honestly, this season's been such a treat. Our fans have come out. It's grown so much here in the upstate, and you can see it. We've had crowds up to 8,000 people. We've had unbelievable sponsorship numbers this year as well. So things are really rocking. I think the best is yet to come as well, but it's super exciting. And I know the guys absolutely love playing at home. You can see it in our home record. We're tremendous at home, and it's an awesome arena. The atmosphere in the bowl, just the whole thing. I personally, love it, and I know our guys do too. And it's almost like an extra player out there. So yeah, let's get loud and get the place rocking.
And finally, Coach, do you have the most annoying in-arena announcer in the entire ECHL, or is that just me?
No, I think you're actually pretty good, except when you do that yes thing. I've been trying to work that out of the yeah. So I'm trying to be telling people why to come to the game, not why not to. But that yes thing, I think's got to maybe change. So.
Really? See, Lonzo and I wrestling guys. Last year we were doing a different wrestling celebration, which I got told we had to kill, so we replaced it this year with the Daniel Bryan yes chant, Lonzo. And now I'm getting dropped on the head coach that he's not a fan.
I don't understand the negativity over affirmation, because that's what that is. It's I mean, everyone's into it, and yes, you know the Swamp Rabbits can win. Yes, I like it.
I like it for one loop, not for 7 loops. So 3 games ago, we did it for 3 minutes and 15 seconds, and I'm trying to coach my team during a TV timeout. But it got the building going. I'm not going to deny that.
There you go. Andrew Lord is the head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. They are on the road playoffs. The ECHL Kelly Cup playoffs begin this Friday on Jacksonville. You can watch it on Flow Sports. Friend of the show, Mark Shelley, will have the call, and then back next week to run 3 at the well. Coach, good luck down in Jacksonville, America's worst city. Please make them feel all the pain on my behalf, sir.
Thanks for having me. You guys rock. Thanks so much.
You got it. That is Andrew Lord, head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. And for the record, a guy with an absolute hell of a drive off the tee box.
I just want to say, you tried to get Coach to go at Jacksonville right there. You tried that.
I hate Jacksonville.
Yeah, I know, but
just in case that's not clear, I hate that city.
That's how good he is. He ain't falling for that stuff.
There are 6 people worth a damn and all in Jacksonville, and Trevor Lawrence is 2 of them. Travis Etienne's 1. I got like 3 friends that live there, and outside of that city sucks.
And there is no greater way to get a crowd to participate than to do the yes chant.
So, real quick, last year
it was so loud he couldn't hear. I mean, that means that crowd is hype.
Last year, I was in charge of the sound effects at the game, and last year, I dropped a Ric Flair woo on goals. And so for every goal, there was a woo, right? So if the Bunny scored goal number 4, you got 4 Ric Flair woos. And about midway through the season, the whole arena was doing it. And I will acknowledge that I did it because of the Carolina Hurricanes, because they do it in their games at PNC.
Well, it may have, Carolina is Ric Flair country. Right. So
that's why I went with it. Well, then I was informed that goal celebration had already been taken by the cross-state rivals over in Charleston. So I had to get rid of it and switch it up, which is fine. So when we started
I would say that Greenville is more Flair country.
I wouldn't
than Charleston.
disagree, but they did it first, right? Like Charleston did it first. So I had to drop the Ric Flair woo. And so I ended last year by dropping Macho Man oh yes whenever a goal was scored. Oh yeah. Whenever a goal got scored. Well, they moved me from DJ down to on the ice with a microphone this year. And when the season started, their new production director, Terry, who was and you guys met her on the stream a couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting preseason, and she's like, what do we do for goals? Like, we need something for goals besides just, there's a goal song, like every hockey team has their signature goal song that plays when you score, but we need a clip. We need something to get the people in it. And I was like, the yes chant. I don't know of a hockey team that does the yes chant. It was real big for a while there when Daniel Bryan was making his run. So let's do the yes chant. So they added the yes chant into the sound effects. So they'll play the goal song, and when the goal song cuts off, but before the face off, they'll just run Daniel Bryan hitting the yes chant on a loop. And if there's any delay, right? Like if there's a delay for a player fixing equipment or getting the right line out there, or the referees have to conference or whatever, we'll just keep the yes chant on the loop. Just loop it over and over. And that's what Lordo is telling me needs to go. Man, I love having Lordo on, but that's disappointing. I thought we had a good thing there.
Yeah, we did that.
All right.
yesterday.
We got a bunch of stuff to get into, a bunch of stuff to talk about on the radio broadcast. Coming up in about 40 minutes at 20 after 10, we're going to be joined by the legendary Emily Adams from the Greenville News. She was at the Gamecock spring game on Saturday. We'll talk with her. And before you get your little texty fingers a texting, I am working on a Clemson beat writer to do the same. I have just not found one who's been ready to come on with me. So we will attempt to get one on tomorrow. Emily joins us at 10:20. At 11:20, Kyle Sullivan of the Locked On Podcast Network. He covers the National Hockey League. He and I had a chance yesterday to sit down and talk a little Carolina Hurricanes hockey. I will play that interview for you coming up at 11:20. In the next segment, we're just going to bang out a bunch of stories and get as much in as we can on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Kevin said, did you get bullied in Jacksonville or something, or is that why you hate Jacksonville? I mean, kind of. I did not do that. I'll tell you what, give me 30 seconds. I'll come back and tell you the story. Hang out. All right, sorry about that. I had to go get my sound roster. All right. So, couple of reasons I hate Jacksonville. Number one, the city sucks. It just does as a city, all right? There's nothing downtown. There's the football stadium. There's like one bar next to it. And outside of that, downtown Jacksonville is a soulless monument to nothingness. It is just businesses and buildings with nothing in them. It's depressing. If you want to go to Jacksonville, here's what you do. You fly to Jacksonville, you get in a car, and you go down to St. Augustine, where things are cool and happen and there's stuff. Second off, I moved to Jacksonville for a woman who, as soon as I got there, like within 3 days, looked me in the face and was like, this was a mistake. You shouldn't have moved here. After she begged me to move there, and I did. 3 days in, she's like, this was a mistake. You shouldn't have moved here. I was there like 6 months. Within 2.5 months, she was sleeping with another dude whenever I was at work. So that was super not awesome. And then when I was trying to put my life together and figure out what I was going to do next, stuck in the soulless city of Jacksonville, her dog attacked my dog and killed it. So suffice to say, not only is Jacksonville a soulless place, but it will suck yours out and make you hate it. Don't go to Jacksonville. If you're ever in Jacksonville, the only reason it should be is because it's cheaper to fly to Jacksonville than St. Augustine. You know why? Because people want to be in St. Augustine. Nobody wants to be in Jacksonville. I know people in Jacksonville who hate Jacksonville. They're just stuck. They can't go anywhere because it traps you. It creates an inescapable situation that you can't leave from. It wraps its cold, deathly tentacles around you like the Kraken of lore. I hate that place.
Like the Kraken of lore.
Yes, you heard me. Brandon said, can't wait for the Florida-Georgia game to move from that soulless town. Yes, that is the only good thing that happens in Jacksonville is football. That's it. If it wasn't for football, Jacksonville would have nothing at all. And keep in mind, the Jags haven't been good since what? 95 until now?
Good. And I mean, you know, depends on what you consider good, I suppose.
Jacksonville sucks. Kevin said, sounds like my ex-wife. I bet your ex-wife lives in Jacksonville now, Kevin. You know, it feels good when you realize you're not alone in the world. When you realize that there are other people that share your struggle. Lonzo, can I go to clip 7A here, please? Yesterday, ESPN was airing its morning debate show, Get Up. And Brian Windhorst, Wendy, was on the show. I like Wendy, all right? Wendy made his mark because he went to high school with LeBron, but I'd say otherwise he's turned it into a pretty good career. And as NBA analysts go, he typically doesn't back himself into the mud and the muck of hashtag sources or fighting about dumb things for the sake of arguing. But much like your boy, Wendy has a tendency to increase the volume just a little bit. Well, yesterday on Get Up, Wendy experienced a Rob Brown-esque struggle. Here's what it sounded like on the air. ACC Karen was in Phoenix, y'all.
No. You weren't scared of her. Windhorse is scared. That dude is scared he's going to get beat up. You weren't scared of ACC Karen. Wendy's scared out of his mind. He's going.
Apparently,
you can hear the fear in his voice.
A fellow hotel patron at whatever hotel Wendy was in, when he got up and went on Get Up, decided to knock on Wendy's door and say, hey, big guy, if I hear you again. Now, in fairness, when Rob Brown was on the air live from ACC Media Days, I believe we were still in the old time slot of noon to 3, if I recall correctly.
I believe you're right.
I believe we were in the old noon to 3 time slot, and about 15 feet away from where I was doing the show was a, national television broadcast when ACC Karen came over and said, hey, Rob, we're going to need you to chill because you're louder than the guest on the television show who are talking into face mics. Wendy was in a hotel room. And in fairness, Get Up airs in a morning show time slot.
Right. And you've got what? It's 3 hours behind, or is it 2 hours behind with I don't know, with daylight savings time and all that stuff.
That's true.
So it's probably like 3 a.m. there when he's talking.
So it airs in an Eastern time morning time slot, which means that Wendy was in Phoenix, which is mountain time. And again, I don't know because Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time. The clock never changes there. And that means that it was anywhere from 3 to 6 a.m. or 4 to 7 a.m. when Wendy went on nationally syndicated television from his hotel room.
It's still last night to some people,
Correct.
Not this morning.
Correct. If that's Rob in the hotel room next to him, I've been asleep for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 at that point. But it does feel good to know that I am not the only egregiously loud broadcaster who has ACC Karen knocking on the door. Here's the best part. When asked, did the hotel manager come up and talk to you? He said, no. This individual did not report to the hotel manager. That means that somebody connected to Wendy's room at somewhere between 3 and 6 or 4 and 7 in the morning, knocked on the door of Brian Windhorst. And by the way, Wendy genuinely sounded concerned in that clip.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at Windhorst. Dude does not convey I'm a fighter because he is not a fighter.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, but
he's a cuddly big boy, not a sturdy big boy. All right. And Wendy and y'all, there's a difference between I'm trying to keep it down out of courtesy versus I'm trying to keep it down to not get my ass kicked.
And I think
that was the latter.
I think the guys in the studio wanted him to get beat up because they're encouraging him to talk loud. They want him beat up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, backup's on the way. Sure it is.
Yeah.
Sure it is.
Yeah, you're in New York, guys. I suspect you're not going to make it here by the time the dude next door kicks my door down again.
Tell him to turn Get Up on it and it'll be okay. No, it won't. No, it won't.
It won't. I suspect the reason he knocked on the door was because Get Up was on. Just remotely.
Dude, Windhorst is sneaking out of that hotel. He's like slinking like nobody's business trying to get out.
I have done radio shows in hotel rooms before. All right. I've done one in Vegas. I've done one in New York. I have done shows from hotel rooms before, but inevitably I will talk to the hotel manager and be like, look, I'm going to be doing a live radio show. Is there any room in the building that you can put me in? And I don't care if it's a smaller room. Is there any room in the building you can put me in where I'm not going to have a neighbor on either side for this exact reason? And sometimes the answer is no, in which case the next question is, do you have a conference room? Do you have an office? Do you have somewhere that I can do this that's not going to impact your other guest? I have never in my years of doing this had somebody knock on the door and threaten to kick my for doing a radio show. Poor Brian Windhorst. I'm just glad I'm not alone in the world. ACC Karen is everywhere, y'all. Back after this for hour 2, 10:20. Emily Adams of the Greenville News will join us on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
President of Operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even though it's a difficult job to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco. help you find the needle in the haystack.
Seem like 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, with an auto warranty about to expire, or with no warranty.
It could be, Steven, but here's the thing. The first 2 hours, they're closed. So it would only be the final hour that they'd have to deal with it. I'm efforting.
AmericanEagle.com re-architected P.F. Chang's website, integrating multiple third-party systems to create a unified digital experience. The results? Improved page speed and performance, personalized content based on user's location, intuitive online ordering, an increase in organic search visibility, and a 40% increase in new users. For scratch-made Asian cuisine, visit your local P.F. Chang's or go to pfchangs.com for website design, development, digital marketing, and hosting.
That sucks, Trey. It really does, but I'm guessing you're okay. So, I mean, there's that. I mean, you can take that as a positive.
Trey, my goodness, man.
Like I said, at least he's okay, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
I had to tell you, like, you guys know my Jeep got totaled, what, a month and a half ago? And it's one of those things that we all know the good news is you're okay. Like, it's good to be able to walk away from something like that.
Oh, it still sucks. Absolutely.
But damn if you don't get tired of hearing that, right?
Well, the
Like,
alternative is you no longer being around to hear
like,
it.
again, you're correct. You're right. I am also glad that I'm okay. I'm glad that I walked away from it. But after like the 50th time, when you're like, because the problem is you just want to vent, right? I just want to be mad about this crappy thing that happened. And when people say that to you over and over and over, it's like they're saying, oh, you shouldn't be mad. You should. No, I am
So
mad.
add this to the list. Rob doesn't like people giving him, sympathy. Gable's in the first
I'm
break.
about to do an anti-kid segment just because of you right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Like it's because of me. That's funny.
This segment is dedicated to the great one. During the break, and I'm not gonna tell this whole story, but we've had a viewer of the stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, search The Fan Upstate on YouTube or The Rob Brown Show on Twitch and watch the show live, interact with Lonzo and I off the air as well as on it. But our buddy Trey just told us the story. He's got some stuff going on. And I made the point that it gets a little frustrating when something bad happens in your life and you're upset about it, which we're human beings, you're allowed to be. When you want to express that displeasure, get it off your chest. And it's like every time you do, somebody's like, well, it could be worse. It's okay. Everything happens for a reason. At least you walked away. Whatever the platitude might be.
Why did you go with that tone of voice? Well, it could be worse because
here's why.
I don't think most people use that tone when they say that.
Because I was being very sarcastic, and here is why.
Oh, okay. Thank you for pointing that out.
You're very welcome.
I'm not. I don't understand sarcasm.
It's your most fluent language. So here's why. I got into a car. Well, I didn't get into. Somebody got into a car accident with me about a month and a half ago. It totaled my Jeep. Best car I ever had. And I constantly heard, well, at least you walked away. At least you're okay. And it's like, yes, you are correct. We all know you're correct. Being able to walk away from the accident is better than not being able to. We all agree with that. But sometimes people just want to vent. They want to decompress. The best way to get rid of anger or anxiety or sadness or whatever you're hanging on to, like anything else, is to vent it. And when I lost my rig and I wanted to vent it, it's like every time I tried to vent to get the frustration out, somebody would go, well, Rob, at least you walked away. Yeah, I know that. I know that that's good. I just want to be mad for a minute. I just want to be angry for a second. Let me get it out, right?
All right. So do you pick certain people because you think they'll be angry with you? Or do you pick, or the people you're talking to are normally people who would console you? Because I think that's kind of on you. You're picking people who you know are going to give you, offer to give you a hug, at least verbally or physically, and then you're mad about their reaction.
No.
If you want someone to be angry with you, find another angry person.
No, quite the opposite. If I come to you, listen, you know what the number one thing I've learned about women in my life is, and trust me, I've had enough failed experiences. It took me a long time to get one right. But the number one thing I learned about women, and I hate to paint with a broad brush, but I've also had most every woman agree with this sentiment. Sometimes I just want to vent. I don't need you to solve the problem, right? I don't need you to issue feedback or advice or guidance or even a solution. Sometimes I just want to vent. I just want to talk about what happened. I don't need you to give me anything back. I just need somewhere to put it, right? And I think we're all that way. Sometimes I just want to say it because I'm angry about it without being told, well, Rob, at least you walked away, because it feels like it invalidates that, right?
But then people on the other end feel like they have to say something, because if they don't, you're going to think they don't care.
No, just go, yeah, that sucks. Just go, that sucks. You're right, that sucks. Anything else you want to say about it? Just let people vent. Now, that was not the point of this. The point of this was that when I said that off the air, Lonzo said something to the effect of, add another thing Rob hates to the hate list, sympathetic people. No. That's not the case. But I am going to do this segment just for Lonzo. Toronto Blue Jays pitcher Anthony Bass is mid, but now he's got some social media flame wars going on. Because Anthony Bass, the 35-year-old pitcher for Toronto, put up a tweet yesterday. The tweet said, the flight attendant at United just made my 22-week pregnant wife traveling with a 5-year-old and 2-year-old get on her hands and knees to pick up the popcorn mess by the youngest daughter. Are you kidding me? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. I went and looked at that tweet because I thought, all right, what's this look like? What's this look like? I don't know if they brought the popcorn on the flight or if the popcorn was provided by United as a snack, because I've never flown United. But in the picture, the 5-year-old and the 2-year-old daughters are both sitting in chairs, both playing video games on tablets. And on the floor around them is a healthy quantity of popcorn, right? And my reaction to that was, yeah, the flight attendants aren't your servants, my guy. Like, I know you're loaded. His wife is a young lady by the name of Jessie James Decker. She is apparently a reality star, a reality television star. They are pregnant with child number 3. Sure, great. But here's the thing. If you are incapable of basic cleanliness with the 2 kids you already have, maybe don't have another one. Maybe take a break, right? A flight attendant's job is to make sure that you are comfortable. It is even to some degree to clean up after you. But there is a difference between, sir, may I take your empty cup and your popcorn bag, versus, sir, may I clean up the destruction that your children have created on this airplane?
All right. So I looked up, I was curious about what flight attendant duties are. And one of them is provide special help to passengers with children, disabled person, or elderly. So one of the things they're supposed to do is help people. So they're supposed to help take care of a problem. And the problem is that she's pregnant and shouldn't be down on the ground cleaning up popcorn. Your hatred of children automatically puts you on that side of the thing. Like, don't bring your kids here if they're going to make a mess. That would be like,
Sorry, real quick. I do have to correct one thing. His wife's name is Sydney Ray Bass. Sydney Ray Bass. Jessie James Decker is Sydney Ray Bass's sister. I misread the article. Jessie James Decker is a singer married to former NFL player Eric Decker. Thank you to the texter who just corrected me. Sydney Ray Bass is this pitcher's wife.
So when you go to a restaurant and you make a little bit of a mess, if they said, I'm sorry, Mr. Brown, but you spilled your taco, we're going to need you to pick that up. What would you say?
I was a server. I'm happy to answer this question for you.
Just because you're leaning doesn't mean you're going to win
No,
this.
no,
I just want you to, you're not going to win just because you're leaning.
There is a difference between I dropped a taco on the floor versus my 5-year-old and my 2-year-old took everything on the table and threw it on the floor. At the very least, this is discourteous from these people. At the very least, this is discourteous from the wife.
So if you say, hey, I'm sorry, we made a mess, that should take care of it, right?
No.
That gets rid of the discourtesy.
Here's the thing.
If you're sorry, then you're no longer discourteous because you feel bad about what happened.
If I walk over and elbow you in the nose and then go, I'm really sorry about that. You're going to go, screw you, dude.
Oh, man.
Screw you.
Man, he's right away threatening violence. I mean, you don't just throw out violence unless it entered your mind.
I was a server and a bartender for a number of years.
I'd block that elbow, by the way. I'm elderly, but I'm spry.
Dwight.
I'm spry.
I was a server and a bartender for many years. Now, if you were drinking at my bar and you finished a beer bottle and you put it on the bar top, of course, part of my job is to come over, take it, throw it away for you. If you spilled a drink on my bar, sure, no worries. I'll bring over a towel, I'll clean it up. If I come over and you have dropped the beer bottle on the ground and it breaks, that sucks, man. That sucks. I will clean it up for you. No worries at all. But if I come over and you have dropped 4 or 5 beer bottles on the ground, yeah, I'm going to ask you to clean it up. You made that mess. And if you refuse to do it, that's fine, but you're not welcome at my bar anymore. I got plenty of customers. I don't need you. If I come to the table and you have spilt a little ketchup on it or knocked a Coke over or whatever, that's fine, man. That's just part of the territory. But if I come over and every scrap of food is all over the table and there's ketchup on the table and this, that, and the other, yeah, I am going to tell you, you know what? I appreciate your business, but you're not welcome here anymore. All right? That's on you. Are being discourteous.
Yeah, I don't think you would do that unless the manager said it was okay. And you said you worked at bars. So
And
chances are they're not going to be any kids at a bar.
Correct. No, I was a server at a restaurant too.
Okay.
The Crab Trap on Okaloosa Island.
All right. And I'm sure you had a broom and had a thing to wipe stuff up,
Correct.
and you took care of it. And you never said, I ain't cleaning that up.
Nope. I would absolutely clean it up.
Because it was your
But
job.
I would also tell the manager, if those people come back, I am not waiting on them.
Wow. Way to take a stand.
Yeah, 100%. Somebody else can do it.
And most
if they want-
managers would say, you know what? It's real easy to get someone to do the job that you're doing. We'll just
Have
find
at it.
somebody else. If you're not going to do what I ask you to do, which is part of your job, then find another career.
No. Listen, again, basic cleanup, that's totally fine. That is part of the gig. The flight attendant's job is not to clean up an entire bag of popcorn that your kids throw on the ground. At the very, very least, it's discourteous. And
But here's the
wait,
thing.
I'm not done. How difficult is it to tell your 2.5-year-old and 5-year-old, hey, you guys made a mess. Part of being a person is to clean up after yourselves. I need you guys to pick up this popcorn so that mom doesn't have to roll around on the ground. And if you are incapable of having your kids do a basic level of cleaning up, then stop having kids.
Okay.
You're not capable of it.
All right, let's get past your hatred of children and talk about something else. If someone tells me, hey, you got to pick that up, you know what I'm going to say? No, I don't. Please step aside so I can get off the plane. Is she going to physically restrain her? How did she make her do it?
Oh, no.
How did she
you're
make
absolutely right.
her do
You're
it?
absolutely right. She could have said, screw you at your job.
If someone,
United,
no,
you're never coming on another plane of mine.
that's fine. And she didn't have to say screw you at your job. You just say no, I'm not going to do it.
Then worse.
Is she going to physically pick her up and do a Draymond on her, slam her down on the ground, say you will pick this popcorn
Listen,
up?
I understand your defense here. You are correct. There is nothing that the flight attendant could have done to make her do it.
After everything you're saying, you're not picking that popcorn up. I'm talking about you personally. You're going to say no, I'm not doing that.
That is 100% incorrect.
No, you're not doing
If
that. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Lonzo, I am the guy who, when I leave sporting events, literally picks up the trash out of the cup holders and off the floor around me because I understand how much it sucks. Even if your job is to clean up, when somebody makes a stupid mess, an irresponsible, discourteous mess, and then somebody else has to clean up when all that you needed to do was just a basic level of being a decent person.
But Trey, he will not have children because then it takes away everything that he's saying right now. He wouldn't be able to do it anymore.
Crap of I had a baby, so I get special treatment. No, you are still an adult.
And
if she
you're
didn't
yelling
have kids,
about this,
because I am so sick and tired of people thinking I created a spawn, therefore I get special treatment. No, you don't. I still live in the world with you. You are not better than me or deserve more than me because you had a kid. I saw a picture floating on the internet not too long ago of this lady who was sitting on the ground with a sign, and the sign was like, oh, you're 23 and got a full night's sleep. Moms should get to go to the front of the coffee line. No, you made the choice. You are not more important than me or the person cleaning the jet or the person sweeping the floor because you had a kid. You're not special. You know how easy it is to have a kid? I heard a comedian say one time, how many people have ever accidentally ordered a pizza? It is not hard to procreate. It's depressingly simple to do it.
You could accidentally order
special.
a pizza if you're like an older person and you're not used to doing things on your phone. You could absolutely do that for sure.
So Steven said, if the cinema worker asks you to pick up your dropped popcorn out of the movie theater, what would be the same reaction? Lonzo, see me. I will drop 2 or 3 pieces of popcorn. It happens to anybody eating popcorn.
I'm watching the movie. I could care less if you're dropping popcorn.
I will drop a piece of popcorn or 2 or 3. That's fine. But if I dropped half the bucket of popcorn on the floor. And I can tell you this because it's happened. If I set the popcorn in the chair next to me because I'm taking a break or I got to go to the bathroom or whatever, and I go sit down and I hit the chair and half the popcorn spills out, I will quite literally ask for a broom to clean it up. You know why? Because just because someone is a flight attendant or a movie theater attendant doesn't mean that they are a subservient person. Now, they may go, don't worry about it. It's an accident. It's my job. I got it. And that's great. Respect to them.
Hey, I got to find a way to calm you down because we got a guest coming up, and you don't need to treat her that way.
I
Though.
wouldn't
because
dare.
the way you're treating
Because Emily's better than this.
treating me right now, just because I have a different opinion than yours.
If your kids make a mess, clean it up. And if you don't, don't get all huffy puffy when you post it on social media and people go, hey, maybe stop having kids.
By the way, the post is stupid. In the end, like I said before, all she had to do is say, no, I'm not picking it up, and walk off the plane. I mean, that's all she had to do. Because then if they won't let her off the plane, it becomes a really bad look on the airline.
No. Listen, we're going back to that. She was not getting off the plane. In fact, you know what the best move here was? Don't say anything. You don't need to blast it to your millions of followers on social media.
No, I agree. It never should have been posted. That's what I'm saying.
When you do that and you go, hey, look at my kids making a mess and me refusing to have a common level of decency because I expect other people to do my job for me, then don't get all huffy puffy when people on social media go, kind of a jerk move. Kind of a jerk move.
In the end, it's going to work out for her because she's going to get a reality series that's just going to make people like Rob ticked off all the time.
All right. You guys are blowing up the text line. Let's see. Let's get a couple in here. Let's see.
I just want to say that the light is not making your cheeks get all red like that. That's you doing that. Yes. And
infuriating.
You know, as a sturdy guy, you need to bring it down a little because I don't want to see have to go get the paddles.
Jesse said, let's see.
I'm talking about the clear paddles, not the kind of paddle.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
Okay.
No, I actually didn't know what you meant. It was weird, but I was going to let it go. Luke says, I don't know who is at fault, but human decency says clean up your mess. Rob obviously has never had kids and is a jerk. I have had a kid for a long time. I was afraid to take her out to be discourteous to others. Agree with you, Rob. Some parents teach no discipline. If I take my kids in these are all different texts, by the way. If I take my kids in a restaurant, I always leave a bigger tip. I appreciate it. If your kids destroy the place and then you throw down a 50% tip, cool. That's at least courteous, right? If the mom here would have tossed the 20 spot to the flight attendant, we got a whole different ball game being played.
I have another question here, and please don't yell at me anymore because I'm starting to feel like Windhorst over here. Were they in first class? Does that matter?
I don't know or care.
No, but I thought
I don't. Being in first class doesn't give you a right to be a butthole.
According to Wedding Singer, it does. That's the reason why I'm asking.
That's what you get for taking life advice from Adam Sandler. Texter said, let's see. Oh, it's so hard to pick up popcorn. Oh my, see, I don't know if you're making fun of the attendant or the parent here, but yes, I don't care that you're pregnant. Picking up popcorn off the floor is not the most strenuous activity in the world.
Dude, come on.
Pick up your kid's mess.
Come on.
Texter said the dad should have done it. She was preggo. The dad wasn't there, right? She was on a flight by herself with her 2 kids. Oh, well, it's so hard to fly with kids. Well, then don't. Then don't do it. If it is so damn hard that you deserve all the special treatment, then don't do it. I don't know what to tell you. You're not special.
We're going to be late for
I'm coming. Emily knows we're late.
Okay, all right.
Texas said, as a server, bartender, and manager in many restaurants, I have numerous occasions of taking a broom and a dustpan to the table and asking the parents to clean up after their kids. Good. And if they don't want to come back, they don't come back. Texas said, planes do have a cleaning crew that comes in after every flight, but the 5-year-old should be able to clean up after themselves. That's my point. Just make the kid do it to learn a lesson. Another, Rob obviously hates kids and has none. Texter says it's just common courtesy to clean up after yourself. Keeping a 2 and a 5-year-old happy on a plane is priority number 1. Oh, trust me, I would rather your kid throw popcorn on the floor than scream and cry the whole flight. But it doesn't change this scenario. Texter said, when I go to a restaurant, I always clean up the whole table, stack everything nice and neatly for them to get the plates out of the way. So do I.
All right. Come on. someone's job is to take care of that. I mean, you don't go.
There is a difference
if it's at your house,
basic cleaning, and now
Dude,
I gotta go out of my way for
if
you.
it's at your house, that's fine. But if you go to a restaurant and you clean up the table for the people who are supposed to do it, that's kind of weird. It really is weird, and that makes you look like you have some sort of disorder that's one of those that I don't know the exact name for it. From now on, it will be known as Rob.
There is a difference between part of it comes with a job, and this is you being a jerk. If you walked onto that and just literally dumped popcorn on the floor and then went, your job is to clean it up, you'd be a butthole. And I would tell you that. All right, we got a lot more texts that have come in. I got to take a break, though, because we got Emily Adams of the Greenville News coming up. In the next segment, we'll talk Gamecock football, and then I'm guessing, based on these texts, we might come back to this. My name is Rob Brown, and you will listen to every damn word I have to say on the Rob Brown Show when the fan upset. It's a wedding singer reference.
Dude,
you did that.
No, I'm aware, and it was also posted. That's fine. Can we really take the break? I mean,
Back after this.
Gables.
Love you guys. Don't go anywhere. Emily, when we come back. comments to get through. All right, let's see here.
A long break. I had time.
Fair enough. I have a kid, and when we go places and he makes a mess, I clean it up because I cringe at the thought of a server thinking I'm one of those entitled parents that I hated as a server. Correct, Joey B. I think everybody should be obligated to do like 1 year working in the service industry. It changes your perspective of people. People who think they shouldn't have to clean up after their kids are living in the twilight zone. No, but they have people for that, right? That's their job. That's their job.
They actually do have people for that.
That's it, Luke. That's what it comes down to. The decent thing to do would be to clean up the mess. I agree. That's it.
Yeah, I know I can't be called because you wouldn't accept me pushing the button.
Fight Club with Lonzo. It's Lonzo versus the phone.
Dude. Finally, took the number. Hey, give me the number again real quick.
Sure. Hang on, guys.
Skip the line and book online. PortlandPro.com. That's PortlandPro.com.
Keep saying your call cannot be.
All right, guys, hang on. We're working on Emily. Be right back.
I thought it looked pretty solid, all things considered. I mean, it's so hard to actually evaluate anyone or anything in the spring game, but yeah, I mean, I think he just looks comfortable. He looks confident. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He knows his guys. It was nice to see him get, a few of those good connections with Trey Knox, who's new and obviously will hopefully be a big part of the offense. And, still has it with juice and all that. So yeah, I thought he looked good. I thought he looked solid for, first time we've seen him since December.
Let's talk about the backups. Luke Doty, obviously, we expect to come in as QB2 on the depth chart, but Lenora Sellers out of Florence looked real good, both moving with the ball and delivering it. My thought was Lenora Sellers gets some XP but keeps the red shirt on. Is there any chance that if the worst should happen and Spence gets lost for any amount of time, does Lenoris look like a guy who could jump Luke Doty, or do you think the plan is going to be to stick with Doty as QB2 until it just has to go a different way?
Yeah, I would be really surprised to see him jump to QB2 this year. I mean, one, just as a true freshman, it's really tough to be ready to play SEC teams as a starting quarterback. Not that it's impossible, but for a guy with Luke's sort of level of experience, and who has really committed to the program, first and foremost, even though he kind of had his job usurped by Spencer last year and this year, I would be really, really surprised to see them bump him out of that QB2 spot. I think, he's kind of earned that with the coaching staff. And Lenoris will get his time, I am sure, because he's exciting for sure. I mean, just seeing him run around was really cool to watch.
Emily Adams from the Greenville News covers the Gamecock Athletic Department, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Emily, was so glad to hear your voice in the post-game presser talking about something that I've been hammering on since last year. And while it is now water under the bridge, I think Jaheim Bell could have been one of the most devastating weapons in South Carolina's arsenal, but Satterfield just never really utilized that position. I don't know if Trey Knox can be what I believe, though it's yet to be proven Jaheim Bell can be. That being said, I was damn glad to see him be involved in the offense. It looks like Dowell Loggins' offense is going to be a lot more short to mid passing game centric than Sats was, which means tight end should be more involved. And it sounded like, based on your question to Shano, you kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost kind of become a running joke at this point. I think, he had his first caller on his radio show ask about passing to the tight ends this year. And then, I mean, we came out and saw tight ends lead both teams in receiving yards, despite the rotations being, weird and abnormal for a actual game. But yeah, I mean, I really like Trey Knox. I mean, he is massive. I mean, it is hard to overstate how, when he's just standing at the press conference podium, he is a big dude. And I mean, I thought Shane made a really good point to that question, that this group, I think, does have some more versatility, in terms of being a part of both the passing game and as blockers. Knox, obviously, was recruited as a wide receiver. He's a phenomenal pass catcher, but I mean, he has the size to block for sure, and he's a very competent blocker. And same thing, Josh Simon had a really good game as well. Him and Knox are pretty similar, honestly, I think, in the way that they play. And then some of those young guys on the bench, Connor Cox was pretty involved, looked solid blocking. So I think it's an interesting group. It's definitely a deeper group than the one they had last year, obviously. And yeah, I think they complement each other better than, Jaheim and Stogg did.
Emily Adams from the Greenville News here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Let's talk about that offense. Obviously, spring game is going to be relatively familiar. I think it is more about demonstrating mastery of the foundations of an offense than it is about going out there and being exemplary or putting on an and one mixtape caliber show. What about Logan's new offense there in Columbia in the spring game, vanilla as though it may have been, stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly like that they leaned on the passing game a lot. I thought that was something, obviously the run game was not strong last year, and I thought they went to it too often when it wasn't working. I thought, we saw a lot of those short passes, a lot of over the middle, which I really like. I think is a good spot for Spencer. That's how, Juice broke that real long run that he had, was just, got out of a tackle when Spencer hit him over the middle. So I think that's good to see. I think, the run game definitely still doesn't look great. I think that's more an issue of personnel than it is an issue of actual, scheme and play calling. And hopefully, either DK Joyner's going to develop into a stud, or they're going to, go get another running back in the portal that has hopefully a little bit more size and mass. Because that's the biggest problem with that room right now, is that they're both little, Mario and Juju. So, I think the passing game I thought looked really solid for a very, bland game plan. And the run game is, I feel like, where there's still a little bit to be desired.
Let's talk about that run game just a little bit, because a lot of coaches, and I've heard Shane say it just like just about every other big time college football coach, the run sets up the pass, and that's obviously something that is a concern for the Gamecocks. Are we going to see Dak Joyner more involved? From what I understand, his conversion to running back has gone relatively successful throughout the spring camp so far. So, are we going to see more Dak at running back than wide receiver or wildcat? And B, what is the plan at the running back position where there's not a lot of depth right now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Mario Anderson, I thought, honestly looks pretty decent in the spring game, considering he's, a guy coming up from D2. It's kind of hard to know what you're getting with that, whether he'll transition well. But yeah, the problem, I mean, him and Juju McDowell both are just so small. And so DK, I think, having him make that transition, he's obviously still got a little bit more of a receivers build, but I think he's sort of capable of putting on a little bit of extra, running back bulk. And he's a little taller too. So that's good. And yeah, I mean, he was the leading rusher for the black team, I believe, on Saturday. So I think we're definitely going to see a lot of him at running back. I think that's where they need him much more than they need a receiver. And certainly I'm sure, some of those wildcat sets too, as a little trick play here and there, but I would expect to see most of his snaps at running back. And I think, he's a guy who translates pretty well there. Like his ability as kind of a mobile quarterback, I think, makes him sort of equipped to make that running back transition. It'll just be, I think, a question of how he hangs against, full SEC defenses that he hasn't been practicing against. Because that's sort of a different animal when you haven't, tried to run it down the Georgia D-line's throat before.
Let's flip it to the other side of the ball and talk about that defense for the Gamecocks. I mean, obviously the attention of fans, and understandably so, has been focused on the offense and the explosion of points they had late in the season. But listen, 31-30 was fun. You'd love to not be giving up 30 points in a game. Talk to me a little bit about what you saw on the defensive side of the football in spring game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing with the defense right now is that they're kind of going through some turnover, obviously, with last year. The secondary, I think you saw on Saturday, is very young. It's very inexperienced, and it's still kind of figuring things out. There were, that Juice touchdown from Tanner Bailey was a pretty badly blown coverage, it seems like. So just like little things like that where you can see them still kind of learning. And hopefully, some of those guys will get healthier, and, over the course of the summer, we'll get more comfortable in things. But yeah, the coming off of the secondary that they had last year, just with so much talent, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a transition, I think. And then obviously the edge rusher is still just kind of a big question mark right now. They just don't have bodies there. And, I think they're transitioning Donovan Westmoreland from linebacker to edge, which I think is a decent choice. You know, he's a guy who size-wise can kind of translate there, played the position in high school, so has some of that sort of understanding. But yeah, I think those are the two areas that I think are really big question marks going into the summer.
All right, last one. Emily Adams from the Greenville News covers the South Carolina Athletic Department. She joins us here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I was watching the spring game when they did the little cutaway about the draft that they had to put teams together. I was listening when Shane said that they had special hats made that only players on the winning team of the spring game would get. I saw on social media a couple of weeks ago when they reenacted one of my favorite scenes from The Office with sprinting in front of the radar gun outside of the facility. And I can't help but think, man, Shane's just fun. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. We asked him about the fun glasses and the dancing in the locker room, and he cut up and laughed with it about it. At the same time that we are seeing all of this happen, we have seen, according to the 24/7 composite, the South Carolina Gamecocks jump ahead of both the Clemson Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide in recruiting for 2024. Now, we're a long way from February. Plenty of guys still out there that have yet to issue commitments. We'll see how that shakes out. But the signing of Pringle, the signing of Josiah have got people excited. How much do you attribute the success in recruiting to Shane Beamer doing a wonderful job of portraying himself and the culture at South Carolina as just fun to be around?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really big deal, especially, you know, with the in-state kids, when you have them, you know, really picking between South Carolina and Clemson has, you know, over the last decade been a much more decorated program than South Carolina has. But I think, you know, the biggest thing Shane has changed is that the vibes are just good. And that's, you know, not a quantifiable recruiting tool, but I mean, you can just, there is a good energy in the building. There is a good energy around the program. I think the way that they engage on social media is so smart in this era, you know, where so many recruits are really involved on social media, and seeing teams being involved on social media is just putting your program in front of their eyeballs more. And interacting with them on social media builds that sort of personal connection and things like that. So, I mean, I think you've even seen it amongst the recruits. You know, so many of the guys who are already committed are now kind of out on Twitter harassing the next guy that they want to end up in the program. So, I mean, I think it's built this really good sort of system where they're able to use that as such a great tool for recruiting and such a great tool to kind of represent the culture of the program that I think feels very real. Especially, you know, it's easy during spring ball, I think, to be having a good time, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's, the more kind of joy that you can find in it now, I think the better things are going to be come August.
Emily Adams covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News. She joins us here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Emily, it is so good to have you back. I appreciate the hard work, and we will do it again real soon. Thank you very much.
Pleasure as always. Thank you, Rob.
You are the best. Go get feeling better. Appreciate it. That is Emily Adams of the Greenville News. You can follow her on the Twitters at EAAdams6. Appreciate that time. Back after this to wrap up hour 2 of the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
All right, so how you dial out has changed, and I wasn't.
What is it now?
Like you normally would.
Just dial.
Dial a 1.
Dial a 1 and then the number.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember seeing an email.
I don't either.
starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
That's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Babbel. Évidemment. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
QC Kinetics patient Diane Richardson saw her brother-in-law have surgery for pain in his elbow.
My brother-in-law, after that surgery, had his arm in a sling for almost 6 months, extensive PT, pain medication, a lot of restrictions of what he could not do.
Thank you, Stephen. Very kind of you, buddy. Appreciate that. We're having a good day, I think, right?
And the experience was like night and day compared to his brother.
After 6 months, nothing. He hasn't felt.
Yes, Rob, we're having a wonderful day.
A wonderful day. Now, nobody else asked me about it.
Sorry. Don't you put your good day on me. Maybe I'm not having a good day.
Remember when you were told bigger is better? Well, that's just simply not the case. Do you want a big bill? No. A big burden? No. What about a big bulky tank water heater taking up space in your basement? No, I didn't think so. What you do want is to make all of those things smaller. Navien tankless water heaters are more efficient and take up less space than outdated bulky tanks with cutting-edge features that improve safety, simplify processes, and increase capabilities. Once you go Navien, you'll never go back. Learn more at tanklessmadesimple.com.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts.
Look at myself on the screen, just looking mean. And I don't feel mean. And I don't,
There's no coming back from the airplane segment.
No. That's not it. My normal look is mean. I mean, there's no way to fix it.
So watching Marvel Universe all over again with the one-shot clips does make a different experience. Yeah, no, for sure.
Are you throwing in all the Disney series in there too, like Loki and all that stuff? You're also throwing Black Widow in there before Thanos. And that's going to take a while, especially since they're continuing to add to it. Won't be long before Secret Wars will be out.
From the Angels Market Studio.
Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always streaming wherever you are on Odyssey.
Wrapping up hour number 2 of the show. Thank you again to Andrew Lord, head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, for joining us back in the first hour, and Emily Adams of the Greenville News joining us a few minutes ago. Coming up in about 30 minutes from right now. Yesterday got the opportunity to sit down and talk a little Carolina Hurricanes hockey with Kyle Sullivan of the Locked On Podcast Network. He covers the Avalanche and the NHL as a whole for Locked On and does a phenomenal job of it. Got a chance yesterday to sit down and talk Hurricanes hockey with Kyle. Now, before we run that interview, I will obviously tell you that we did that interview before the Hurricanes got the power play working, scored a couple on the 5-on-4 advantage, and knocked off the Islanders in 2-1 fashion yesterday to take a 1-0 lead in the opening round of the Stanley Cup Finals. The Hurricanes have been to the playoffs for 4 years in a row now. And that's exactly the type of game that the Canes have lost the last couple of years that caused them to be where they are now, in a state of frustration, having too good of a team to not really have anything to show for it. And they went last night and got that 2-1 win in game one of a series that, honestly, I don't think an over is going to hit in the entire series. Carolina, a physically suffocating team. The Rangers, a plotting, methodical team. A team that just wants to bore you to death and win 1-0, 2-1 style hockey games. They played that game last night, and it did not matter. The Hurricanes got the dub. We'll talk about that with Kyle Sullivan coming up here in just a little under half an hour from right now. Got a few more stories that I want to open up the next hour with, including, if you didn't already believe me, that Bryce Young is the next Carolina Panthers quarterback. Two things happened yesterday that tell you it is a done deal. I'll tell you what they are when we come back. We'll talk a little bit more NFL. The Braves get one back against the San Diego Padres last night on an Austin Riley 2-run dinger. We got a lot to cover in the opening segment of the next hour of the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Yeah, did you, Jonathan Major's PR and management firm, fine, I'll bring it up regular. Dang it, man.
By the way, the only thing I had so
it
far,
really?
yes.
When your PR firm dumps you, you're done.
Marvel hasn't dumped them yet, though.
Yeah, because I'm sure that they wanted to wait, but I got a feeling that'll be done by the end of the week. How do you go from getting the role of the BBGE in all of the Marvel Universe to this? What is this, the fastest rise and fall of a movie star in recent memory?
Hasn't been fired yet. Ezra Miller is trending. And the reason why he's trending, all the stuff he did, including, alleged kidnapping, breaking and entering, starting a cult, all that stuff.
Starting a cult.
No, he technically started a
Oh, I know.
cult. Yeah. So, I mean,
Somewhere Jared Leto smiles.
yeah. So all that stuff he did, and the Flash is still coming out. So I don't know. I didn't see the, so I thought.
Speaking of, look at the back of the goalie helmet of the
Nice.
last team we played.
Very nice.
That was the back of the goalie helmet of the, oh God, what team was this?
So has video come out or something on Jonathan Majors? Is that why they dropped him? Or
No.
because that seemed,
lawyers came
it
out
seemed to
and said-
go away because they said they had an alibi, could prove he
Right.
wasn't there and everything, and it went away. So
Right. But that came from his lawyer. And listen, this is literally what a PR firm gets paid 10% of your salary to do. So the fact that they went, we would rather not do it than get a percentage of the paycheck of the biggest baddie in the MCU right now, leads me to believe he's in trouble. I'm not passing judgment because we don't know yet, but this don't look great.
ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, with an auto warranty about to expire, or with no warranty coverage at all. You can decline in the economy.
I have that thing every day where if I get something, I have to, it's weird. We want audience participation. And I know obviously the audience is here because they're into stuff that we're into. And I just hope they just don't put it up on the stream. But they did, so that's fine. I can find other stuff. Maybe. It's become a fun contest. Today I lost.
Lonzo. Headline out of Ventura, California, from the Ventura Daily News.
Now I've got Ventura Highway stuck in my head, but you know. That guitar
America,
riff,
right?
America.
Yes. Ventura, California. 36-year-old Dylan McEwen was arrested early this afternoon after dozens of calls rang into the Ventura Police Department complaining of a man standing outside of a local Walmart telling multiple parents that their babies were ugly. This guy apparently spent at least an hour at a local Wally World walking up to parents and telling them that their babies were ugly.
Can we confirm if the babies were actually ugly or if he was just doing that consistently?
90% of babies are ugly.
I disagree.
According to the report, a parent said, quote, he was so offensive for absolutely no reason. Why would he say my child is ugly when obviously his ugliness runs much deeper, end quote. According to a reporter, quote, this direct quote from the article, many people blew him off as just an emotionally disturbed individual, but several people left in tears at the mean things he said about their kids. McEwen told one of our reporters, quote, I was just telling them the truth. I may be a bleep hole, but at least I'm an honest bleep hole, end quote. Regardless of his being honest, he was still harassing people, and public harassment is against the law.
This sounds like a Babylon Bee story. I don't believe it's real. I mean,
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it came across, and I'm choosing.
This is one of those where I check the sources and they give you a bunch of fake news pages with fake towns in them and everything, because they're getting a lot more creative with that stuff.
According to the report, Dylan has a history of being a truth teller and was arrested just this past summer for harassment and intimidation for telling overweight folks on the beach that they needed to, quote, cover up, end quote, or they may be mistaken for a whale and, quote, harpooned, end quote. According to Sergeant Larry Denton, quote, this individual has been a public nuisance on more than one occasion. The district attorney is aware of him being a repeat offender and is compiling a case against him.
So is this like where rap artists get arrested for street cred? Do you get street cred if you're like a comedian and you're doing this? I'm just curious.
In fairness, this is the only site that is reporting this. So I'm going to go ahead and assume it's satire, but that is a really well-written satirical article. The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, is on the other side of the metaphorical glass, my co-host and executive producer this AM, and all the rest of them as well. Should you like to be a part of the radio broadcast, now is your opportunity. Do so by giving us a call on the Gilstrap Family Dealerships.com phone line. That number is 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. You can text us on the text line at 71307. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. Coming up in the next segment in about 20 minutes from now, Kyle Sullivan is a host for the Locked On Podcast Network. He is an NHL analyst who covers the Avalanche and the league as a whole. He will jump on board to talk a little Carolina Hurricanes hockey with us as the Canes picked up a 2-1 win over the Islanders last night and take a 1-0 series lead in the National Hockey League in the first round. Teams that win game one have about a 63% success rate of winning the series as a whole. So it was uber critical to get that first win, and the Canes did exactly that. We'll check in with Kyle Sullivan coming up here in just a little while. Let us run through a couple of other stories that we have gotten to so far. Yesterday, Lonzo, we did one baseball story that was not about baseball at all. Do you remember the story I'm talking about here? I can't imagine it has escaped the memory of anyone who heard it. That, of course, is the story of the press box possum. That possum, of course, was at Oakland County Coliseum, the home of the Oakland Athletics. Now, Zoe, when your team is a horrifically managed and bleep poor run program, as a fan, what is typically the way that you show your frustration?
Don't go to the games. Don't buy the merch. Just ignore the team.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely correct. Don't go to games. Don't watch on TV. Don't buy the merch. Show your displeasure by voting with your wallet, as the old expression goes. Here's the problem for the Oakland Athletics fans. They're already doing that. As we have mentioned a couple of times on the show, the Oakland Athletics home opener had fewer people than 11 minor league games opening days did, including the Greenville Drive. So A's fans are already not going to games, already not buying merch. And, of course, the owner is blaming the fans. How can you expect us to invest in this team when you guys won't come to baseball games? Well, the A's, Lonzo, the fans have come up with a strategy. On June 13th, the A's will be hosting the Tampa Bay Rays, a 6:40 p.m. first pitch scheduled at Oakland Coliseum. The A's fans, in what I consider a brilliant move, are organizing a reverse boycott. They're already boycotting the team. That's changed nothing. The team is still garbage. The ownership is doing nothing. They're not investing in the team nor the stadium itself. So in order to prove that the fans aren't the problem, the A's fans have decided to do a reverse boycott. They are asking all the fans in Oakland to show up for that one game. They want to do this in order to prove to Major League Baseball that if they step in and force the Oakland A's to, try, that they would have a very successful fan base. The Oakland A's fans are pulling the old Uno reverse card. They're going to try to sell out the Coliseum for one game and one game only to prove to Major League Baseball that they can absolutely get 45,000 plus in Oakland County Coliseum if the team cared, tried, made an effort. I kind of like this, Lonzo. I kind of like this story, right? The A's are blaming the fans. The fans are blaming the A's. Major League Baseball is doing its best not to pick a side. But if the A's organize this and they put 45,000 into that stadium, you got to hope at least a little bit that Rob Manfred and the rest of Major League Baseball look at the A's fans and go, damn, we are kind of missing out on this. We're missing out on television eyes. We're missing out on revenue at the gate. We're missing out on A's merch being sold. And at this point, it's pretty evident that the fans want to be fans, but that team has a smaller payroll than half of the outfields.
We'll show you. We'll just come to games or to a game.
A game.
We'll just come to a game and we'll show you.
Yeah.
Just because they say they're going to do it doesn't mean they will.
Yeah, execution's got to be there.
Yeah.
If I tune in June 13th, by the way, the only A's game that I will watch this year now will be June 13th when they take on the Rays. If I tune into that game and there's 1,000 people in the stadium, then I'm going to tune right back out because the A's are bad at baseball. But if they do sell out the Coliseum for that day, that could create a very interesting conversation.
And then the A's social media guy comes out and says, see, I told you, all we had to do was put a possum in there. And look what happened.
Rally possum! The rally possum is real. All right. Quarterbacking in the National Football League. As we get set for the National Football League draft, which is to be held next Thursday. You know what else is going to be held next Thursday?
We are going to be live.
That is correct, as Chris Farley once said.
We're going to be live at Twin Peaks on Woodruff Road.
Twin Peaks, Woodruff Road in Greenville. Lonzo and I will be live. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel will be live for Offsides as well. Zoe and I will be doing the show.
I got to point out that we'll be more live than them.
We'll be the livest.
Yeah.
We will be live from 9 to noon. Doors open at 11. You are welcome to tailgate the Twin Peaks parking lot from 9 to 11. Then come on in at noon when the show reaches its stellar conclusion. Lonzo and I are going to hang out for a little while. Me longer than Zoe because he's got a real job.
Yeah, I got to come back here and do work,
I will be hanging out for at least a couple of hours, having some 29-degree, perfectly cold beer and some of the best from-scratch food in the upstate, along with the Twin Peaks girls and you, live at Twin Peaks next Thursday. The show will be live 9 to noon. The doors will open at 11. You guys are welcome to come in at 11, hang out with us for the last hour of the show. Then Zoe and I will hang out and have some food with you after the show comes to its conclusion. Then feel free to stick around as Mark and Diesel will both be on site and going live from 3 to 7 for Offsides as well. It is a full day of
shout
NFL
out,
Draft Day prep.
Shout out to the Armada, because you guys are out there and you're working hard every day and you're looking for some place for lunch. Why not come in while we're there and have some lunch?
Yeah, schedule your break for noon to 1 next Thursday. Come on in, have some beer, have some wings. I'm going to make sure they get the Armada the biggest table at Twin Peaks so we can all sit down and share some hot wings and brew. Well, if you're driving a truck, don't have brewskis. Have a water or a sweet tea.
Yeah, I will eat the food. I don't drink. So
I have a couple of beers because I'm hanging out for like 7 hours. You can come on by and have yourself, if you're driving, a water, sweet tea. If you're not working, if you like me and you don't have a real job, then feel free to come by and have a brewski.
It is kind of a holiday. So, it's NFL draft. Why not come in and partake of some good food and some good company?
Okay. Next Thursday, Twin Peaks. Come on by. We'd love to see you.
So you went Madonna, and for some reason I thought Holiday Road by Lindsey Buckingham, but that's me.
It is what it is. We all got our thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, next Thursday when we are live at Twin Peaks, we'll be setting up for the NFL draft. The Carolina Panthers are technically on the clock as they have the first overall draft pick. And the question is over, ladies and gentlemen. Bryce Young will be a Carolina Panther. How do you know, Rob? Well, allow me to inform you. I have two ways of knowing. The first is that those Vegas odds that we've been tracking, those Vegas odds that we've been looking after have grown once again. In Vegas, Bryce Young is now minus 1,000 to be drafted first overall. CJ Stroud is now plus 650 to be drafted first overall. Now, there is the potential that Carolina could trade down. Why? I'll give you the why. The why is that the Houston Texans have been shopping the number 2 overall pick. The Texans want Bryce Young or nobody. They are shopping the number 2 pick to see if anybody would be interested in jumping up to number 2 to take either CJ or Anthony Richardson, which means that the Texans wanted Bryce Young as well. So my question here for you, Lonzo, is going to be, if you are Carolina, do you call the Texans, offer to flip-flop 1 and 2, charge them a premium for it because for them, again, it's Bryce or bust. Drop down to 2, take CJ, and recoup some of the costs that you had to make to trade up to 1 in the first place.
Not necessary. So Bryce Young stopped visiting other teams.
That is reason number 2.
But he's visited 2 teams, not 1 team. The second team, the other team would be the Houston Texans.
Correct.
And the reason why he doesn't have to go anywhere is because the Houston Texans have guaranteed him that he will be their pick. So he knows that he's going to Houston. He's not worried about the Panthers because CJ Stroud's going there. He knows he's going to Houston. So why go anywhere else?
I would believe that if the Texans weren't shopping number 2, but they are actively and openly shopping number 2 now. If Bryce was available at 2, they wouldn't be doing that. The reason they're
so you're saying that the Carolina Panthers have told Houston who they're going to pick?
No, I'm saying the Carolina Panthers have told Bryce who they're going to pick, and it got back to Houston. They wanted Bryce. That's why they're shopping number 2.
Yeah, I don't believe
to try
that.
to get a
just,
ballpark out of it.
If you're gonna keep it out of the media and you're gonna keep it out of everywhere, you would not tell the player because you'd have to know the player might accidentally let it go.
But here's the thing: it doesn't matter for Carolina. They're the only team it doesn't matter for.
Right, it doesn't.
They could come out right. Frank Reich could get on this TV right now and go, Bryce is our guy.
They should, but I'm sure the places who carry the NFL draft would like them to not do that because it takes some intrigue out of that first pick. And all these little stories that are going around makes it a little more interesting, makes it a little more exciting. Will they go with Bryce? We're guaranteeing they're going with Bryce. Will they go with CJ, who was the front runner in the first place? Will trades happen? This is part of our job, what we're supposed to do and what they're supposed to do. But I ain't buying it. You haven't convinced me yet.
Rob Brown put some scratch down on Bryce Young to be the number 1 overall pick.
And you win
125.
100% of the time.
No, I win like 70% of the time. Cha-ching.
Okay. I mean, that's still good. That's a pretty good percentage, but still.
Here's how I'm going to put it. Next Thursday, when Rob Brown is live at Twin Peaks alongside the great one Lonzo, the man in the box, who will be out of the box next Thursday, Rob is going to hashtag treat yourself. Why? Because Rob knows there's going to be some extra cheddar in the wallet at about 8:30 p.m. on Thursday night when Bryce Young is named as the first overall draft pick of the Carolina Panthers. Even if Carolina does the unthinkable and does flip-flop with Houston to allow Houston to have Bryce, get some premium picks to fall back a single spot and take CJ.
You said that Bryce Young was going to the Panthers.
No, I said Bryce Young will be drafted first overall.
I'll have to go back and check the tape.
The bet. No, right now I don't believe the Panthers are going to trade back. I believe at this point the Panthers are dead set on BY. The question is going to be, do the Texans put together a package, an offer they can't refuse? I can't do a good Godfather. It's like the only gangster voice I can't do. If the Texans put together an offer that the Panthers can't refuse to move back 1 spot and take CJ, and let's say they pick up, what if the Texans call you, Zoe? You're Frank Wright, you're Scott Fitty, you're sitting in the office, you're sitting in the war room, and you get a call, bring, because you got like an old wall phone with a cord on it, bring. Carolina Panthers, how can I help you?
They still use fax machines in college, so there's a good shot there might be a wall phone.
I remember sneaking up at night, trying to jump online after the parentals went to bed, except knowing that burglar alarm was going to go off. Dial-up internet. Oh, woof.
Wow. There was no internet when I was a kid.
I mean, it wasn't when I was a kid either. That came around when I was already in like middle school. Anyway, point is, if you get a call on draft day, this is Scott Fitterer. Hey, Scott. It's Nick Casario from the Houston Texans. How you doing, buddy? I'm real good, man. What's up? Hey, we really want Bryce Young. Well, that's funny. So do we. Yeah, we know. Listen, how you feel about trading out of that number 1 spot? Not really feeling it, Nick. Would have to take a hell of a deal. Well, listen to this. Hey, Scotty, I am prepared to offer you this year's number 2 overall pick, our next first-round pick and a second-round pick in exchange for your number 1 overall. Is that too good of a deal to pass up on, knowing that CJ Stroud is available at number 2? To me, the answer is no. BY and CJ are like this to me. Like Bryce Young is physically about 2 inches shy of CJ, but in the quarterback game, about 2 inches above him.
Dude, it's more than 2 inches.
All right, whatever it is. By the way, if you're going height and weight, Anthony Richardson's the pick, but that's not.
I was going to say, it's like 5 inches, which is come on.
The point is, BY is just this much ahead of CJ to me. But if Houston is prepared to offer up a number 1 pick and a second-round pick to come up 1 spot and take BY, I will gladly take all of that and CJ Stroud. I will roll the dice on CJ over BY at that point. That is why my bet is Bryce Young to be the number 1 overall pick, not Bryce Young to be the Carolina Panthers first-round pick, because they still might trade back, specifically with Houston shopping. But the fact that Bryce is now minus 1,000, I told y'all to put scratch down on Bryce when he was plus 125. I said it's free money, all right? Plus 125. He's now minus 1,000. You got to bet 1,000 to win a hundo. That's how big of a favorite he is. If you did that, you're about to make some scratch, okay? If you did not, sorry. All of that being said, the second story that dropped yesterday.
I just want to say really quick, what a disappointment that will be if the Panthers actually go with Bryce Young.
Oh.
It's gonna hurt. As an actual Panther fan, it's gonna hurt because he is too short, and it's going to come into play. And you have everything set up well, and then you go and make that mistake. Wow, he's smart, but he can't see over the line. It's a problem. It really is.
Steel your resolve, great one, because it's happening. The only way it doesn't now is if Houston and Carolina flip-flop picks, and then they'll take CJ. But unless Houston comes in with an offer that is equivalent to the Panthers' move from 9-1 in order to get from 2-1, it's not going to happen. The second story that leads me to believe that this is the case is that, as Lonzo mentioned just a moment ago, the great one on top of it is always, Bryce Young has canceled all of his future top 30 visits with other franchises. Bryce Young has spoken with Carolina. He's spoken with Houston. I'm sure he had another team here or there that he spoke with, but at the end of the day, he's done, which means that BY knows the pick. BY knows where he's going. BY knows where he's ending up. BY is done, y'all. He is going to Carolina. He would not have otherwise made that decision. So next Thursday, when Roger Goodell puts the Carolina Panthers on the clock, don't be surprised if that pick is in 45 seconds, because Bryce Young is heading to Charlotte. Let's take a break. When we come back, Kyle Sullivan of the Locked On Podcast Network is going to join us to talk a little Canes hockey. That's next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Oh, no, you're right, which means he had to run around a lot. But it's the NFL. It's not the SEC. We're in trouble. In other words, look forward to something that Rob had last year. And I think this is the real reason why he wants this to happen, is the fact that Carolina will have Andy Dalton for the majority of the season after Bryce Young gets drafted, goes out and gets hurt game 3. And then the true New Orleans Saints fan will sit back, put his hands behind his head, and laugh maniacally.
You're overthinking it. You're overthinking it. Nothing matters to me, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing matters to me more than my wallet. Nothing. At all. My paycheck comes above everything else.
I think we both know you didn't make any more money off the Carolina Panthers last year. So that may be too inside. Right. That may be too inside, but still.
But if the Panthers go to the playoffs, we will. If nothing else, the station will.
The building will. No, do not update the system right now. I'm using it. Learn how to record at a decent level. Jeez.
All right, how do...
This program's giving me a headache today.
The Rob Brown Show?
Yeah, I think everything's directed at me.
It's not.
Not everything.
Don't be sensitive.
Not everything. I got to say, when the Panthers pick CJ Stroud, I'm not going to go on the internet and say anything. I'm not going to get, I told you so and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to be happy.
All right, let me take that down, and that's about as good as it's going to get, dudes. Yeah, that's what we got. That's good enough, right? You guys get the gist.
Why'd you have to put your face on there twice?
Because one's a cartoon.
It's still your face,
Cartoons
though.
don't count.
Yeah, they do. It's still your face. Go away, Kevin. Don't really go away. It's like,
Hey, when I lean back like this with a camera effect and also that I'm fat, it makes me look fat. That was terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. What if the Colts trade up? The Panthers aren't going to go back to 4, not because the Colts wouldn't make the offer, but because the only thing I think the only spot the Panthers don't want to be is at 4 with only Levis left. And at this point, my prediction is that quarterbacks are coming off the board 1, 2, 3, 4. Nobody's trading with the Texans to 2 to take not a quarterback. So I would assume, prognosticate Bryce 1, CJ 2, AR 3, Will Levis 4. That's my guess. And I think I could see the Panthers going back to 3 and being happy with either CJ or Richardson, whoever falls to 3. But that's a guess. And I would not necessarily bank on it.
So are you introducing this?
No, it's a recorded segment.
Right,
Got
right.
an intro and outro on it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I probably should have that ready to go.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to the Rob Brown Show, ladies and gentlemen. The Stanley Cup playoffs are officially underway. Thank you, Alexa. I understand. I'm busy. Leave me alone. We are joined now by one of my favorite people to talk hockey with. He is one of the hosts of the Locked On Avalanche podcast, where they talk Colorado, but he is my go-to hockey dude. Kyle Sullivan. They call him Shaggy Von Goom. Perhaps my favorite social media handle of all time. What's up, big fella? Happy playoffs to you, my man.
It is the most wonderful time of the year.
It really is. So I said this on my show earlier this week, and you're a hockey guy, so you're going to have a bit of bias. I am not a hockey guy, but I'm a basketball guy first, etc. If the Stanley Cup playoffs aren't my favorite postseason in all of, they're down the list than number 2. I'm a big college baseball playoff guy with the regionals and the super regionals and Omaha and the double elimination at all 3 steps, et cetera, et cetera. I think college baseball is excellent, but the Stanley Cup playoffs are right there in the catbird seat, as the saying goes. I love the Stanley Cup playoffs, but I want you to tell me why, because I have people ask me every year, why do I feel that way? And it's one of those things that, to me, as a fan who kind of checks in and out throughout the regular season and gets dialed in when the playoffs get here, it's very hard to explain. So as a hockey dude, what would you say it is that makes the Stanley Cup playoffs so compelling, even for people who maybe don't watch NHL hockey every night of the week?
Well, see, that's the thing. When you get to playoff hockey, you're getting the best possible version of these teams at a given time. The level of play is escalated to another level. Like you mentioned, you're a basketball fan. I'm a diehard New York Knicks fan. Like, I should be excited and watching my Knicks in the playoffs right now. But I watch like 15 minutes of it, and then I'm flipping to whatever hockey game is on, because the way these teams manage the LTIR and how they handle injuries and how everybody just kind of escalates to capture the hardest trophy to obtain in sports. There is just something that you really can't quantify with words about the aura and the passion and the drive that you get in NHL playoffs. But it's one of those, you turn it on TV, you're glued, you're hooked, and you're there.
You called it the most difficult trophy to obtain in all of sports. And I'm actually not going to push back on that. I think there are tournaments that are maybe a little bit more difficult to predict. NCAA March Madness. I think there are some where you've got to get hot at the time, the NFL playoff. I think, for instance, with college baseball, once you get to Omaha, anything can happen, and there's pitching strategies and this, that, and the other. But when it comes to the Stanley Cup, they are best of series from start to finish. They are like anything else. But there is not, and I include the NFL in this chagrin of many football fans, there is not a more physically demanding tournament, I don't think, in all of sports. The Stanley Cup playoffs are going to take more out of you physically than any other sport. I've gone on the example before that if you watch a 2.5, 3 hour football game, there is composite of actual snap to tackle, body on body contact, something like 2.5 minutes of actual action. The Stanley Cup is 60 minutes of full contact, full maximum effort. And to me, when you get that and you've got 3 or 4 series and you have to win away games to finish it, etc., man, it ups the demand on athletes, I think, unlike any other sport. And I think for me, that's why it stands out so much.
And the other thing, we all love fantasy sports. We all like manipulating our teams and trying to put the best roster forward. When it comes to NHL regular season, it's one thing to have the best regular season team, say the Boston Bruins, win the President's Trophy, best regular season team. That always doesn't mean success when it comes to the playoffs. You can win every game of the regular season, but take that team and win a series with this team where night in, night out, they can make adjustments. They know, hey, he was limping in this game. We can make this adjustment. And that physicality pays dividends. It's not just something we made them uncomfortable in this game. You could possibly take somebody out in a series with the way you play. And the President's Trophy winner has not had the best track record when it comes to success with the Stanley Cup. So it's one of those that you could comprise your team in many different ways, but it means nothing when the playoffs start because you could have the best team, and you could be the first out.
Kyle Sullivan from the Locked On Podcast Network. He covers the Avalanche and the NHL, joins us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, we're going to do a couple of different segments, and we'll be doing this throughout the weeks as we go over the 2 months of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But let's start with the home team, or at least the home team for those of us here in the Carolinas. Let's talk about these Carolina Hurricanes. This is a team that the last couple of years has been a playoff mainstay. They've been a divisional champ, a divisional contender the last couple of years, but for whatever reason, it has just felt like the Canes fizzle out. Usually second round of the playoffs, something just comes unglued. Maybe I'm a bit of an optimist here, Kyle, but this year's team feels different, and it feels different because there's a grittiness to this team that I have not felt the last couple of years. In the years where Carolina has kind of made their reputation as the team that loves to celebrate, we had old Cherry calling them a bunch of jerks a couple of years ago. That's kind of something they embraced, and it was really about the show. You're not really getting that. I mean, you still get the post-game celebrations, but you're not getting the flash out of this team that you've gotten in past years. You're getting more substance. Let's start with A, do you agree? And B, before we get into the breakdown of this series against the Islanders, do you consider the Hurricanes a threat to grab the cup this year?
I love the fact that you point out the lack of, the extracurriculars, the WWE type environment around the Carolina Hurricanes this year. Oh, yeah. Wheeling, dealing, kiss stealing. You don't see that with the Canes, and that's both a blessing and a curse because Carolina finds themselves in the same position that Toronto does. You saw the acquisitions Carolina was making at the trade deadline, how they've improved themselves, how they got that grittier facade when it comes to how they approach the regular season. It is nothing but business for the Carolina Hurricanes this year because they are tired of that second round exit, running out of gas, not being physical enough. But the curse side of this, if you hit another second round exit, you have to take a step back and look at, is this the definition of insanity? What's going on here? We have put this team together so many different ways. What's going wrong? And you have to look top to bottom. Is this what we want, to just win divisions, be a good team, but walk away with no hardware? This playoffs is extremely important for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Could not agree more. But I'll tell you what the big difference is. And the reason I'm a big fan of the old Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. But I'll tell you what I see that's different this year than years past about these Canes. There is a determination to be the best defense in the NHL. And I think they have gone a long way in that direction. They are second overall in goals allowed in the NHL. They are the best in terms of shots allowed. They are the best team on the penalty kill. So even if you end up in a spot where you're winning games 1-0, or even if you're losing games 1-0, you're putting Sebastian Aho and the rest of the forwards in an opportunity where if you guys do your job, the defense is doing theirs week in and week out. You go back to the majority of the losses the Canes suffered, and they're really low-scoring affairs where they just didn't have anybody finish. The pressure is on the front line. The pressure is on guys like Aho, Brent Burns, etc., to finish because the defense has been there, and they've been a good defensive team the last couple of years, but this year they excel at it, and I wonder if maybe that's what they've been lacking the last couple of playoff runs.
Well, if you want to put that focus strictly on the defense and how important that is, you can also look across the ice at who the Carolina Hurricanes are facing. They have built that team on defense first, and it's very similar to kind of how Carolina is structured, with as long as the forwards are contributing, they're going to be okay. But if the forwards have an off night, it's over. And then the thing about Carolina with this eastern section of the playoffs, you have teams like New Jersey that is really wanting to turn some heads, get some attention because they have been building this team for a long time. Boston is trying to be the best team of all time. There are so many different storylines that Carolina has to be on their game every single night. There cannot be a take a step back and just coast through. Carolina has to come with it, and the forwards have to take a step up. And if they don't, that calls into question how this team is constructed and the character that you're putting in there. And it's you really want Carolina to, on paper, this team should do it all, but that's also on Carolina to do it.
So I talked with earlier in the show, Andrew Lord. He is the head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, our local pro team here. They are starting the ECHL Kelly Cup playoffs coming up on Friday evening. And one of the things that has gotten the Swamp Rabbits back in the playoffs is defense, is goaltending primarily. They've had a rotation of guys. As a matter of fact, one of them, David Hrenek, just got called up to be the third goalkeeper for the LA Kings in their playoff run. Super happy for him. Kind of a bummer we lost our best GK. We'll talk about that in a different segment. But Lordo told me off the air on Monday in our media availability, he said, look, when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter what level of hockey you're talking about, from the NHL all the way down to the Mighty Mites. If you're talking playoff hockey, you're talking defense and goaltending. That is what is going to win and lose you a series. The good news for Carolina is that they've got, if not one of the two best defenses in the NHL. The problem for Carolina has been a circus as far as the goaltending. It's who's checking in tonight. Are they hot? Do they have the hot stick, the hot glove, or not? Can you make the change before it's too late and somebody pops 3 or 4 on you and you're playing from behind? What would be your thoughts on the goalkeeping of Carolina? And if they were to drop either the first or second round series and kind of continue that trend, do you think that's what will be to blame for it?
Yeah, you want that perfect marriage between defense and goaltending. If your goaltending is lacking, and a problem for Carolina is health in goaltending and production from goaltending, you want that defense to take up for that kind of lack in production and quality in the goaltending. If you could get solid goaltending and the defense working with them and get out ahead first, that's where the goaltending is going to be key for Carolina. But like you mentioned, if the Carolina Hurricanes go down early and you have that playoff environment, and especially if Carolina finds herself on the road and down, and then the defense, as stout as they are, starts getting those thoughts in their head like, oh, we got to really turn it on now, and you really start pushing and nothing's happening, that's between the ears is the intangible that everybody kind of forgets about in the equation. It's that momentum, that playoff style hockey, the NHL playoffs, that big moment. Once it starts ringing between your ears and the moment gets too big for you, that's what I worry about the goaltending the most for Carolina.
Kyle Sullivan covers the Colorado Avalanche and the National Hockey League for the Locked On Podcast Network. He joins us during this Stanley Cup run. Let's flip to the other side for the Canes, and let's talk about the offense. Now, you got good news. You got scores. You've got Sebastian Aho out there. You did lose Andrei Svechnikov, which is a big L, but you had Brent Burns fill in. You've got Martin Necas over there, who has done some good work for them. Good news is they can score goals, but you've got one of the worst power plays in the league. And just like Lordo said, goalkeeping is the difference. He countered that with, but so are power plays. When you get those opportunities, you've got to finish them. And that would be my negative, right? Like if the Canes bow out in round 1 or number 2, I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to look back at that series and go, they did not convert power plays. Talk to me about the front line of the Canes and what you think the pressure looks like on those guys.
The pressure, you say guys plural, but honestly, let's be real here. The pressure is on Aho. Everything rides through Aho. Like, yes, Necas has been nice. He's a nice accessory. And Brent Burns, it's one of those that he's been wonderful while he's there, but you worry about the health in a playoff type situation. And if he can continue the whole way. So it's solely on the shoulders of Aho. And if he could continue and actually ignite the rest of the forwards to come with him. And when it comes to the power play, you want to see that working, because in this physical type playoff environment, especially against the Islanders, they're going to get physical. You are going to get calls. What can you do with those? Because that could be your one opportunity. You get 2 freebies of a man advantage. You have to capitalize on those. If you don't, that's another negative in the momentum category. And then you're playing from behind and it's between the ears. You want to see Carolina get on that power play, and everything when it comes to this Carolina Hurricanes offense, it's going to be run through Aho.
Carolina draws a 1 seed on the bottom half of that bracket by way of winning their division if they are able to get by. Well, let's start with this. Give me a prediction on the series with the Islanders. The Islanders are Probably not quite as physical of a team, but they are a team that is already good at shutting down the power play, which is a Carolina weakness. I frankly don't love the matchup for Carolina. I really don't. I think it's a dangerous one, probably more dangerous than either the Devils or the Rangers in the second round. You got to worry about getting out of, well, I guess getting into and then out of New York, preferably without taking this thing all the way to an elimination game at the very end.
This, when the playoffs bracket was set and you saw all the matchups, this one screams 5 or 6 games, but Carolina could come out of it 5 or 6. But the thing is, with the way the Islanders play, they bore you to death. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. That's how the Islanders play. It's just a slow molasses style play. They don't do anything flashy. The goaltending is hot and cold, but they will wear you down. And if you could escape in maybe less than 5 games, that speaks volumes for the Carolina Hurricanes. But the longer this goes, the harder the road goes for the Carolina Hurricanes going forward, because they will wear you down.
Are the Islanders a team that you mentioned is boring? I would love to say that sets you up in the positive if you're Carolina, but Carolina being a big physical team that wants to grind you to death with just stubborn defense. On the flip side, a team that is slow and methodical very frequently means they don't make a ton of mistakes to give away opportunities. So how important does every one of those opportunities become for Carolina? Are they priceless effectively?
Yeah, that's why I mentioned earlier, you have to capitalize on those power plays, because that slow, just painful slog of a style that New York plays, it's one of those that really gets in your head. It's the tortoise and the hare. They could continue. They have no problems, no lack of confidence in their game and how they play it. If they could throw you off where it feels like you can't do anything to shut them down, take them out of their element, where it really gets you overanalyzing and overcompensating for how you're playing, that's how the Islanders beat teams. That's why they're here. Just not changing their game, just playing theirs. If they could get Carolina off their game, that could be a problem. Carolina has to stay with the strict defense and pushing things to the front. As long as they keep it out of their zone, they're going to be okay. But if you let the Islanders set up camp in the offensive zone, it's going to be a long, long series.
Kyle Sullivan covers the Colorado Avalanche and the National Hockey League for the Locked On Avalanche podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. He is going to be joining us off and on throughout the entire Stanley Cup playoffs, talking a little Carolina Hurricane hockey with his big dog. It is good to have you back on the show. I'm glad you're back in the rotation, man. We'll do it a little bit later this week and talk about, I guess, every other team in the greatest playoff bracket in all of sports.
It'd be an honor.
It'll happen, my man. At Shaggy Von Doom is the Twitter handle if you want to follow him on Twitter. The only man, ladies and gentlemen, with more jerseys hanging than me is Kyle Sullivan at Shaggy Von Doom on Twitter. We are back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. ejected. You're out of here for
Yeah.
stomping on my dude's chest last
So,
night.
so the reason why he's trending is that I fixed it, by the way. The reason why he's trending is because he asked for an X-ray on his ankle.
Draymond, shut the hell up, man.
he asked for an X-ray on his ankle.
That's like when
After all that stuff he talked.
You know, I don't know how many of y'all grew up with siblings, but every one of us with a sibling at some point in our lives did something where we hurt the sibling, and you have to do the like, shh, don't tell mom, it's okay, so you're okay.
No,
You're
my
okay. Don't tell
my
mom,
sibling
don't tell mom.
hurt me all the time. So,
However, one of you is in a situation where there was a don't tell mom moment, right? And inevitably mom finds out, and what do you have to do? You've got to make up the thing that they did to you first. Yeah, well, he poked me in the eye first. He punched me first. I know you can't see it. It's not red anymore because I'm better now. But before I
he
stabbed
angle
him,
slammed me first,
Yeah.
so I had to curb stomp him.
Yeah, he was twisting my ankle. That's why I stepped on his chest and caved it in. Mom, shut the hell up, Draymond. So weak, dude. So weak. And all he's
I
going
need
to
an
do,
X-ray.
because he knows he's wrong, is when he gets caught out, he's going to go, oh, you're my ankle first, and you're a female genitalia part. Shut up, Draymond.
How much you want to bet they find a microfracture?
So weak.
That looks like a fracture. There it is right there. All right, the last thing that's trending is Southwest Airlines.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's
if
legitimately
you
trending, by the way.
have children and them children make a mess, either A, teach them a wonderful and valuable life lesson about cleaning up
Teach
after themselves,
your children well.
or B, clean it up.
That's actually
Please
Crosby, Stills, and Nash. not
Don't
White.
think, well done. Please don't think that the world exists to serve you because you did us all the benefit of having another person. A, there's too many people in the world already. And B, your kid's not special. They're just not.
There's not too many people.
Like
in the world.
2% of your kids are special. All right. So just because you had a kid doesn't mean the rest of us exist to serve you anymore. That's not it. You had a kid. You deal with the responsibilities of having a kid. And if you can't deal with the responsibilities of the kid you got, quit having more.
Ending the program with some hill heat. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the radio broadcast. We are back tomorrow to do it all over again, but better, a few more quarterback variables that we need to throw into the equation to see if it changes it up and more. He's the great one, Lonzo. I am Rob Brown. You have been listening to the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. Yay, we did it. Good job, everybody.
I don't know what we did, but yeah.
We did it.
Okay.
We did it.
Okay.
How about the Bravos getting one over the Padres last night? Love to see that. After the meltdown they had against them in the first series, they they also took game one of the last series and then dropped 3 in a row. So here's hoping to the bats stay hot. Took old what's-his-face, Weather Storm or whatever his name was. Austin Riley took him deep in the first. 17 first-run innings for the Bravos. Max Fried makes his way back to they had 4 Ks through 5. I think 2 hits on the night, whatever it was. Good day, good return for Max Fried. And the bullpen came in and cleaned up. That's all I need. Come in and clean up, man. It was good stuff. Good stuff. Skrilla said, same Lonzo, my 6-year-old brother beat my ass every day, but my brother said, never tell mom.
Yeah,
That's what big brothers
my
do.
daughter my sister stabbed me in the head with a pencil and also hit me with the corner of a fence post that cut my head. It like turned my t-shirt completely white. I mean red. After I threw the ball in the woods because I was, mad. She didn't approve of that. And I said Rick Springfield sucks, so she stabbed me in the head with a stabbed me in the head with a
That one's
pencil.
a little more justified. I can at least
Rick Springfield is not really that bad though. He just I did
I don't
it.
know that he's stab worthy.
I did it, believe it or not, to make her mad. I know that it shocks you, and it worked, but I paid for it, and then I got a whooping for it. She stabbed me in the head. I shoved her. She hit the corner of a table. She cried. I got the whooping.
Oh man.
My head was bleeding the whole time, by the way, but whatever.
I mean, sometimes you need a whooping.
Yeah, some would say I need that all the time.
Let's see what else we got before we leave. James said that if Carolina went to 3, it means Arizona goes to 1. No. All I was saying was that is the furthest Carolina would be willing to go down, would be 3. You're not going to trade any down. You're not going to trade down any further than 3. They would go down to 3. So if somebody jumps up to 3 with Arizona and then last minute decides they want to try to go all the way to 1, that will be the trade, right? If somebody wants 1 and they're at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or on, if they want 1, they're going to have to go to Arizona at 3 and then go from 3 up to 1, because Carolina's not going to trade from 1 down to anywhere 4 or lower, but I think they would trade from 1 down to as low as 3. Well, that's just me. That's just me. Ladies and gentlemen, you're all fabulous people. Thank you very much for hanging out. We appreciate you greatly, and we will see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.